A person can go 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. How long can someone go without meaning, without purpose or belonging to the world? Like most things in life, it depends on the person in the question, and it also depends on who you ask. There is evidence of physiological and psychological effects that are directly correlated with lack of purpose. Cardiovascular disease, hypertension, certain cancers, weakened immune functions, low quality sleep, inflammation, headaches, backaches, and joint pain, to name a few. And that's just the effects on the body. The effects on the mind are equally sinister. Depression, anxiety, addiction and substance abuse, cognitive impairment, emotional dysregulation, and social withdrawal. Fuck. Is any of this sounding familiar to you? Mental health statistics are an indicator of the greater cultural psyche at large. Things like art, religion, family structure, and attitudes towards sex are other indicators towards the cultural psyche. If you were to talk to people in your personal circle, in your day-to-day life, and you ask them how they're mentally holding up these days, you can expect up to half of them to be struggling in some way or another. Chronic stress, anxiety, and depression are the top three contenders for mental health conditions these days, at least in America. Now, granted, America's not the flagship or the spokesperson for the West at large, but in the same breath, yes, it is. We are living better than the average person did in any time period ever. In 1820, 90% of people lived in extreme poverty, whereas today, we've got that number down to 10%. Our material comforts and technological conveniences have advanced while we neglected our souls. The two biggest predictors in human happiness in this life are close relationships and a sense of meaning or purpose. And wouldn't you know it, both of these factors have been in decline for the better half of a century. We have witnessed the collapse in family structure, religion, and the isolation of the individual. A very Faustian dilemma we've gotten ourselves into. Now, that's not to say that you can't have a 21st century lifestyle and be happy at the same time. I am saying, however, that I'm none too surprised that we took an unbalanced approach in determining what peak human civilization looks like. I mean, it's human nature 101. If we have the ability to fuck something up or make a mistake, we're going to discover new ways to make that mistake. And maybe it's closer to Murphy's Law, but I mean, the principle is more or less the same. The modern West is, it's kind of like a teenager going through a weird rebellious phase where we suffer from cringy Reddit level atheism while trying to seek independence from our proverbial parents. With our parents being God, the natural order, or the universe, and Mother Nature or human nature, if you're not a believer. We are fundamentally not ready on any level other than the egotistical for this kind of jump. I mean, every single civilization ever has practiced religion for a particular reason. Even in atheist societies like the Soviet Union or Mao's China, they just use the state as a stand-in for God. It's state worship. That's all it is. This tells us that people need a mental framework to align themselves with clear-cut morals, ideals, and virtues or values. This spiritual code of conduct outlines how we, as humanity, kind of interface with the world at large or the universe, and with other people. Science explains how the world works, and religion prescribes how one ought to live within the world and gives you a community. It's like a 2-for-1. Now, recently, religion's gotten a bad rap, and personally, I believe this is by design, and I think we should undo that. I'm personally biased towards Christianity, but regardless, we need to have something to spiritually adhere to and something that we can build communities around. When we don't have a way to psychologically interface with a higher power or natural order, we go crazy. Nihilism is a psychological plague that corrodes, warps, and distorts the natural human spirit. It's a toxic mental framework that holds the soul in quiet contempt and devalues every single aspect of life. When people feel a lack of meaning and purpose, the only logical avenue is nihilism. We aren't inherently drawn to nihilism, but when your culture drops the guardrails of community, family, religion, you fall over the edge like a toddler off a third-story balcony. Nihilism is a bitter pill to swallow for the vast majority of people, because nobody wants to stare down the barrel of objective meaninglessness. That's tough. So people find hedonism to be a bit more of a palatable option. It's a spoonful of artificial sweetener that helps the medicine go down. Life may be meaningless, but hey, at least the club is bumping, right? Hedonism is just nihilism's pretty sister. It's the same trap. It's just the good time girl. That's it. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with hedonism and what it means, it's the belief that all human behavior is rooted in the desire to maximize pleasure and minimize pain. Which, I don't know if you were born yesterday or if you're new to this world, but I'll be the first to tell you that life's a fucking struggle, man. I mean, it is a fucking struggle. It's tough. And it's not for everyone. Life is for the living, and that's why you're here. I mean, we wouldn't develop as human beings if our lives were just meant about chasing pleasure and never experiencing hardship or pain. Hedonism is a bad choice, but people fall into it because the alternative is horrifying. Well, that, and people also don't know where to turn to when the lifelines of community, family, religion, tradition have been severed. It might sound like the least terrible option, but it's still bad. And lastly, we have pessimism, or Eeyorism, as I like to call it, just for the sake of the comparison that I'm going to make. Now, if you're not familiar with him, Eeyore is a fictional character that is portrayed from the Winnie the Pooh books. He's a massive Debbie Downer and a wet blanket in both the books and the Disney adaptations. He's an old grey stuffed donkey that's portrayed as depressed, pessimistic, and anhedonic. But the thing that stops Eeyore from being a full-blown nihilist is his relationship with his friends. In spite of his gloomy nature, he's reliable, he shows up, and he's loyal to the other characters in the series. If Tigger or Rabbit or Pooh or Piglet need help, you can bet that Eeyore is going to show up. I think it's safe to say that he values his friends in spite of his grumblings. I mean, one could say that Eeyore's friendships give him a sense of meaning. There's also this like trope that recurs throughout the stories and the series and the episodes, whatever, where Eeyore's little house of sticks, it's like a teepee thing, consistently gets knocked down. Sometimes by the shenanigans of his friends, other times it's just happenstance. And he always rebuilds it. He persists. Much like Sisyphus pushing his little boulder, well, not little, but his boulder up the hill, and having it roll back down and him having to start again. Eeyore is constantly rebuilding his home. He expects things to go wrong, always, and yet he always persists. He's always asking why bother when he bothers. He continues to bother. He will continue to bother. He bothers. I can't say what drives Eeyore to continually push on, but needless to say, the guy is resilient. And whatever the cause may be, Eeyore keeps going in the face of these hardships and challenges. If you're keen on inoculating yourself against the horrors of nihilism, try to find ways to bolster your life with friendships, community, causes, activities, anything. Strive to cultivate meaning. Volunteer for a soup kitchen, call up a friend you haven't heard from in a while, try to reconnect with family, hang out with them, something. Or explore a church or meditate, maybe. The list goes on. Make it a point to build yourself a little, like, force field of psychological stabilizers. They'll keep you sane. The world is growing increasingly dehumanizing and impersonal. Everyone's being atomized. Nobody's going to do this for us either. It falls onto us, the individuals, to network and build our tribes. And that's all I have for now. As always, thank you for watching, and stay strong, my friends.